Hi, this is Susan Dietrich, and I am the training manager for DR 821 Typhoon Merbok. I'm just going to talk a little bit about performance evaluation and writing a narrative. This is a workshop. This isn't the whole course, and you won't be getting GAP credit. The course itself is quite good, and you can take that on Edge. So take a look for that, and we'll just be talking a little bit about how to write a narrative today. I'm going to kill my camera and share my slides. There we go. So my email address is down there at the far left corner. If you have any questions, it's susan.dietrich2@redcross.org. I'll be giving another workshop on using Volunteer Connection to write your evaluation. I'll be attaching that to our IAP as well. But I'll have office hours, so if anybody is having any glitches, virtual office hours, you can contact me. So the purpose of this workshop is just reviewing the preparation and the completion of the performance evaluation and how to successfully conduct and close the performance review. Now, the performance evaluation process begins as soon as the worker is assigned to you. Your evaluations help clarify which workers are ready for the challenging assignments and which workers really need a little bit more guidance. The evaluation serves as recognition of the time spent in service. It's really our chance to give a good goodbye to people who have given 2 weeks of their time for service. There's a process flow in completing an evaluation, which begins at the top. So you're taking notes, and in the induction, you're really mapping out what areas you are looking for the performance and the areas that you'll be writing about in the evaluation. So the supervisor takes notes and provides the ongoing feedback to the responder. And this happens throughout the assignment. The supervisor completes the evaluation and submits it to the reviewer for input and for approval. And if there's an issue, then they may want to confer with staff relations. Conducts a performance discussion with the responder. There are a number of times I've received an evaluation, but no discussion. There have been discussions, from time to time, just offhand, but not sitting down with the supervisor and really discussing the performance evaluation, which is really important. So once the evaluation hits the reviewer supports the supervisor throughout the evaluation process. So the reviewer is going to know if there are issues with the worker before that form reaches them. The reviewer adds comments and approves the evaluation. They have the option not to approve the evaluation and return it to the supervisor to revise it and resubmit it to them. So then the evaluation goes to the responder, and it's published in the responder's profile. The responder acknowledges the evaluation in the Volunteer Connection and add comments for 5 days. They have 5 days after it appears in Volunteer Connection to make some comments. It then goes to the region, and this supports the responder's goals for training, development, and for additional experiences. If there were performance issues, that can be addressed at the regional level. And the region works with the responder to find the classes that they need to increase their skills and to reach their goals. So, who receives an evaluation? If somebody is working for you for less than 3 days, the worker may request an evaluation, but the evaluation is not required. Now, that's working for Red Cross for 3 days. Let's say that somebody had a 14-day deployment, but they were switched over to you for the last 3 days. They still get an evaluation, and you'll still be writing the evaluation, but you'll be getting some help, and we'll talk about that in a minute. If it's 3 to 6 days, the worker may request an evaluation, but the evaluation is not required. Now, mostly people will write an evaluation between 3 and 6 day service workers if it's requested. After 7 days, an evaluation is always required. If somebody has worked a DR under you or under somebody else for 7 days, then they must receive an evaluation. If you don't write the evaluation, it is kicked up to your supervisor, and your supervisor will write the evaluation. I can tell you they won't be very happy. A performance evaluation is always required if the worker is dismissed for poor performance for any length of service. Now, there's performance criteria. You will recognize this from the DRO forms. So things that they are looking for under work requirements, that someone supports the objectives of the mission, applies procedures correctly, exerts appropriate authority, carries out whatever tasks have been assigned to them, and exhibits flexibility in all areas, and just exhibits general good work habits. Interpersonal skills, we will be rating people or evaluating people on how collaborative they are, how committed they are to Red Cross and the mission, their compassion, credibility, and creativity. Now, collaborativeness can be whether or not somebody is working as a team member, giving input, not just on an island themselves. It's pretty easy to tell if somebody is committed, devoted to the mission and Red Cross, their heart is there, compassionate toward the clients. And compassion differs from empathy. Empathy is experiencing the emotions of someone else. Compassion is listening to the experience of someone else and feeling concerned about that, but reaching out to help. And compassion is far better than empathy. So, is the person reporting to you compassionate, wanting to help? Credibility goes into reliability, someone who is genuine and will be there for you, the supervisor, and for the team. And creative, is that person innovative? Are they resourceful? All of these things relate to interpersonal skills and make someone better on a DRO. The evaluation choices are exceptional, effective, or inconsistent in a requirement or skill. Now remember, we're not judging these people's performance academically or like they're going to be Rhodes Scholars. We're looking at, for instance, exceptional Does somebody demonstrate a complete understanding of the DRO process and the program guidance and what their position is? Do they demonstrate excellent interpersonal skills? So really, a lot of people can get exceptional in doing just that. So don't feel like exceptional means outstanding. Everyone else is effective, and there are a few who are exceptional. Just use this criteria. If they can do all of that, then they are exceptional in our DRO program. Now, there are some people who may not demonstrate a complete understanding. They may demonstrate, just a working knowledge of the DRO or the program, and, just kind of a general understanding of their position and what their responsibilities are. And their interpersonal skills aren't great. They are good. They're reasonable. That's somebody who is effective. Job performance, if that is marginally successful, but sometimes kind of dipping down into not what we want. And we know that this person needs additional training in DRO processes and or program guidance, and they need to understand their position better, and or their interpersonal skills are really lacking, then that's the person who might get an inconsistent. Now, for me, it's easier for me to kind of block them in to a academic grading system. So for exceptional, after I've read that kind of means somebody who demonstrates the complete understanding and demonstrates excellent interpersonal skills. That's someone I would be giving an A minus, B plus to, that they're exceptional. And somebody who's effective, kind of good, but, kind of average. That's somebody I would be giving a B or a B minus or a C plus or a C2. And somebody who's inconsistent, that's a job that I would probably grade as C minus or less. So that's just my way of kind of earmarking a scale and making it a little bit easier for me to understand. Now, each person serving in a supervisory position have to have the 12 items in supervisory performance section completed. So that means if you are the manager, you need to complete both of those areas. You need to complete the supervisory position area. And same thing, you're going to determine if the supervisor's performance was exceptional, effective, or inconsistent in a requirement or skill. Now, there may be some times that you didn't have an opportunity to supervise or observe that. Just put not observed. Don't, don't just assume. If you haven't seen something, just put not observed. There's a place to gauge overall performance. And now this one is easy. If you have filled out the other ones, then and half or more of the performance criteria were rated exceptional or effective. That's satisfactory. So you can see, all or almost all of the people who respond to you, who report to you, are going to be satisfactory. If there is a volunteer or a staff person, or maybe two, you get very few, half or more of the performance criteria, you'll see were rated inconsistent. This is somebody who really needs help, and this is a red flag to the region that they need additional training, they need some guidance before they come to another DRO. So we have completed this area, and we're moving toward the narrative. So this is the narrative we're going to write. And then there are recommended trainings, additional experience they need, and promotion readiness. Now, in your induction, when you first talked to your volunteer, you clearly expressed what was expected of them, what their job was. You asked them to take notes on that. And hopefully you have been meeting with them from time to time to see how it's going and to give them input on how you think they're doing as far as the job goals. So that's going to make it much, much easier in writing a narrative. In these meetings also, you have talked about what their goals may be, how well that they feel like they're fitting into that position. You can ask them what other trainings that they think they might be helpful to them. They will know probably as well as you know. They know what trainings they've taken. So that might be helpful to ask them. And you can write in what additional experiences they may need, maybe an additional DRO or, you know, and they may also come up with something that an experience that would help them on their next DRO in this gap. It's possible that in having this experience, the person may say that this gap really isn't the most appropriate for them. And it's your opportunity to discuss other gaps and help them find a really good fit. Promotion readiness, you'll be checking off on that. And you can't you can't recommend someone to promote to another level unless they have deployed twice in that same gap. So let's say you have an exceptional SA reporting to you, but this is their first deployment. Still, you do not recommend them as a supervisor. They need to have gone through two gaps, two deployments in that same gap. Now, if they've gone through a couple of gaps and you have someone and maybe you don't think that they're going to be the best possible leader in the whole world and they don't have your leadership style, still you're going to promote them. You write down what things that they need to look at to be a better leader, in your opinion. But if they have done a lot of work and they've gone out a number of times and they're interested in being a leader, then promotion would be appropriate. Now, you can't get into their transcript, so you don't know what trainings they've had. And the promotion readiness, where you're checking that you think you recommend promotion, that is just based on what you're seeing for the DR. That has nothing to do with their transcript. That will come from the region. To move up in a gap, you have to have 3 evaluations that recommend promotion. So this is very important, particularly if it's the goal of the responder to move up in a gap. So let's talk about the written narrative. You want to have a DRO service unit. Talk about that. You want to talk about the main responsibilities, and these are the same responsibilities that you discussed when the worker first came in. You're going to comment on their performance and a lot of talk about their strengths, and we are going to mention areas for improvement. You also need to ask them about what their goals are and how they see their best position in Red Cross and for deploying. And readiness for responsibility, the need for an assignment with less responsibility or moving to another gap. You're going to report exactly what the worker did and quantify if possible. Now, I find it very helpful in supervising to take notes as I go. Now, if I have only a couple of people reporting to me, that's easy. If they do something exceptional, I'm taking a note and I mention it to them when I meet. If you have 30 people reporting to you on a DRO, you may need to have a list, the roster list, and some sort of feel for the dates, 14 slots for everybody. And then when somebody does something exceptional, just go into that box and put a plus and a note what they did, or a minus if they messed up in some way. At the end of the DRO, you'll look back at that spreadsheet and you'll look across at that particular worker and you'll see plus, plus, blank, 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 plus, blank, blank, plus. Okay, that's somebody who did a really exceptional job. They had a number of times they went above and beyond, and they didn't have any issues, no negatives. You may have somebody that doesn't have anything at all in that line. Well, you want to look through, they may be exceptional as well, but they just didn't, go above and beyond. They can still be exceptional just by really understanding and doing a good job with their work. But if you have somebody who has a mixed bag, you have some pluses and minuses, then you need to make some decisions and take a look where the work falls, how important the issues were, and how they responded to the issues. You want to mention in your narrative if the worker mentored a new worker, and this doesn't have to be a formal mentorship, just somebody who took a new volunteer under the wing. That's important in many ways, particularly in leadership development. We want to know which people are going to help other people go ahead and rise in the field. If the worker was given a field promotion, let's say your manager, and there was an SA who was really quite good, and you needed a supervisor, so this person was given a field promotion to supervisor, but they don't hold the gap as an SV. You want to go ahead and highlight that in your narrative. And if you're struggling a bit with the position description, maybe that's not even your gap, and you're having to write the evaluation on somebody who's not right in your gap. We'll talk about that in a minute. So there's something called operational position descriptions on the Edge, on the Exchange, and that's a really good resource. And this has been around forever. This is effective phrases for performance appraisals, and it's like a thesaurus. It gives lots of ways to say good work. Lots of ways to say there you might think about improving in this area. So it's kind of a fun book to have. What I've done, I come from academia, so I have written 1 trillion letters of recommendation for students, which is kind of similar to this. And I keep a template. I keep different letters I've written that are singular to a type of person. So if I have a client who has such and such characteristics, I can think back and I go like, oh man, that's just like Stephen. She has these great strengths in these areas and has mentored and has done this and that, and I'll pull Stephen's evaluation and read that, and it's just helps a little bit. I'm not going to paraphrase it. I'm not going to, I'm not going to pull all of the language from it, but it just makes writing it a little bit easier. It's not a template. And I'm certainly not going to use a template to write across the different clients, or excuse me, I'm saying clients, the people who respond to you, report to you. I'm not going to write similar things on all of their evaluations, because of course they're going to compare them, and then they feel like it's generic, that you either didn't really know what they did, or you didn't really care what they did, or you didn't have enough time to devote to really addressing who they are and what their goals are. I suggest that you make an outline with bullets before writing the evaluation for structure. Now, in writing a narrative, you have all heard of this, the sandwich approach. So you're going to start with the positive. It's best to start with the most positive, and then give some constructive feedback, and then positive feedback. Now, this comes from somebody in somebody who has worked for a long time in training, and they use this as a narrative sample. So I just pulled this from them. I had it was pleasurable working with this person. We provided services. She was instrumental, and here we have quantification of over 623 cases. She averaged opening 13 cases. Okay, we're quantifying. Not just that she did a good job in it. She was always willing to provide assistance and team members in order to accomplish the task at hand. So, this shows that she's helpful. It shows that she's flexible. Great customer service. Okay, positive, 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 positive. And then she struggled with CAS, but after working with her supervisor, her skills improved significantly. Okay, so that's where she sandwiched it in. And then the positive again, she's polite and courteous, team player, and has great organization skills. And then ending with the appreciation for that volunteer for all the time that they spent and the service that they provided. Now I'm going to show you an evaluation of someone, and this was written by a trainer, by a training manager, not me, who has lots and lots of experience. And then we're going to take a look at maybe how it could be improved. So this evaluation is, let's call this person Cindy. Cindy was very helpful. She was always available to teach and support the orientation classes and any other operational training needed. She provided support to managers as needed. Cindy has the ability to lead and carry out assigned tasks. She conducted the 7 a.m. orientation to allow responders to meet their assigned reporting on time. Okay, this is all about support and availability and flexibility, isn't it? Her knowledge of the DCS courses are acceptable. Her knowledge should be exceptional, and she was willing and prepared to do whatever training was requested by the disaster. Okay, good knowledge, and again, flexibility. And then here we have something sandwiched in, her knowledge of the training platforms, and that's like getting things on Edge, getting things reported if she's a supervisor, that needed some work, but she was able to learn and use that during the DRO in instruction. Verbal and artistic abilities were great during the delivery of presentation training. And she provided feedback during the coaching sessions to support the leadership development and to help, I guess, her become a better leader too. And then the goodbye. It was a pleasure to work with her. Now, that's not a bad evaluation, but let's see if there's a way that we could make it even a little bit better. So this is the evaluation we just read. But do you remember how I said it's so helpful if you have an outline? So this is the outline for this one. And it's talking about you're supposed to put, or it's nice if you put, lead off with the greatest strength. So this supervisor is saying availability and supports others is the greatest strength. Well, I'm not sure after I read this that that's the greatest strength, but anyway, she leads off with that. Puts in there that the person Cindy has an ability to lead, carries out tasks, has a good knowledge base, and then sandwiches in that she needs a little training on the platform. She does a great job teaching, and then the good goodbye. Now, another outline might be that you need to add the DRO information. And what DR was it? What exactly was the position? And then I'm not changing any of the wording or the intent. So I'm going to still have that the ability, I'm going to lead off with ability and supporting others was important, but we're going to quantify that. So you always want to throw in some specifics. And then we're going to go to teaching and knowledge. Okay, so we're still going to go to strengths. And whoops. And after teaching and knowledge, probably the ability to lead would fit right in there. Now you're going to sandwich in the training and have the good goodbye. Now you want to add promotion in there. Okay, let's look how that would read. So the yellow is stuff that was added. So there's just a little bit that was added. We added that they have the pleasure of working with Cindy on DRO 821, Typhoon Merbok. I supervised her in the role as training supervisor from blank to blank. And then they're putting all of this stuff about flexibility and support, and then some quantification. So Cindy also, instead of just talking about the orientation, that she taught these other courses as well, a bunch of other courses, which really makes the evaluation much more specific. Okay, we're pulling all of this information, over here and talking about how the teaching went, how she used her verbal and artistic abilities, how the coaching went, what her knowledge is of the courses. But this is, a little glitch that she needed to work with. Nonetheless, she had the ability to lead. And the ability to lead, and she's suggested that she's going to be promoted to manager. We would leave that out if it said stay at the same level. But if you're saying, I recommend that they move up to the next promotion level, then you want to put that in there. And again, the salutation of it's a pleasure to work with them. A good goodbye. Now, you may be supervising a worker who's not in your activity. That happens. The supervisor leaves, and let's say the DES, you're a DES manager. They close down DES. It's the end of the DRO, and you're in a different area, and you need to write evaluations for those for those DES people who are leaving the DRO. Now, this may not be your area at all. So what are you going to do? You go back to the position description and read up on that. You can ask some people what someone should be doing in that. You can ask, somebody else on the DRO what they've observed, and then you are going to be writing something the best you can. You'll have somebody in that area in DES to look over it and make sure it's on the mark. And then you turn it in to your supervisor. Now, if you don't complete your evaluations, your supervisor will need to write them for you, which would not be good. Now, hopefully, throughout the time that your worker has been deployed, you have been making notes, noting the above and beyond behaviors, noting if there are any issues. You gather that documentation. This will be really helpful for them to see, how they've measured up. If you do that spreadsheet I was talking about, where you're putting some pluses, some minuses, if there's a question about that, you can cover the other teammates' names and show them the spreadsheet and say, this is where your performance was. Look, you had three pluses, and most people didn't have, they had one or two. You did a great job. Or you show them the spreadsheet and say, see these two minuses, and there's only one person who got another minus. So really these are issues that stand out, and you're a great volunteer and we really want to have you here, but these are issues that you need to take a look at. So it's just great to have that backup. You definitely want to identify strengths and areas that need improvement, and areas for development and training. And this comes from them telling you early on what their goals are, what they want to do on their next DRO. I hope, needless to say, all of this occurs in a very private area. So ahead of time, you'll need to find an area that is absolutely private so that everybody can relax, you and the person who reports to you during the review. Together, you can plan to address the growth and the development. And then you schedule the interview. So you've got all of that in place before you are actually talking with the person. So you can see you want to do this ahead of time, not just 2 or 3 days before they leave. It would be really nice if you did it like 4 days before they leave. Now, all of these things should have been discussed with you, the person who reports to you, ahead of time. No surprises. So now we're going to evaluate them and talk about the evaluation. You've already submitted the evaluation. It's been approved by your manager. The manager made comments, and now you're ready. So you needed to do it in advance. So you begin with the worker success and contributions and focus on how they met the positive expectations that were set out in that first job induction. Now, if you need it, you can share that spreadsheet, or you can share your notes or data on performance, but always in a positive way, constructive criticism. I don't even like the word criticism. So constructive discussion. You want to share your suggestions for growth and listen to them, what they say they think would be most helpful for them to grow. And then ask them how you could have improved their experience. It's very important to you that you are serving the people who report to you. Explain how the worker can access the volunteer connection evaluation and how he or she can respond. So this is under the profile, and they go down to DRO history, and they see that DRO, they go over and it will say not completed when they're checking, and then finally it'll say complete, or it'll say satisfactory. They can click on it and read it. They have 5 days to respond to that. So they need to go ahead and look at it. After 5 days, that evaluation is locked, so they can no longer make comments on it. You can assist the worker without processing. Make sure everything is out of their name. The car, if they borrowed a laptop, anything that they have from Red Cross needs to be out of their name so it doesn't come back to them. And thank the worker. So, in summary, a performance evaluation of your workers is one of your great responsibilities, and it's an ongoing process from induction to taking notes and monitoring their behaviors, noting when they go above and beyond and when they're doing a good job, meeting with them from time to time individually to discuss their goals and how they're meeting the things in their position. These evaluations are very important because it may affect where they go in other DROs. Also, if someone is trying to move up, you have to have 3 evaluations recommending that you move to the higher level before you can even apply to move up in that gap. So it is critical that you write the evaluation. You want to do it in a timely fashion and talk about their accomplishments and opportunities for growth and development. Okay, so that is the performance evaluation preparation workshop, not the entire evaluation course. Go to Edge for the whole course. If you have any trouble writing your narrative or questions, please email me here at susan.dietrich2@redcross.org. I'm also going to be attaching a workshop on using volunteer connections to write your evaluation, so watch for that. Thank you again for coming to DRO 821 Typhoon Merbok. We appreciate you.